Most writers struggle to find time to write. That's always the big thing, right? Is I just don't have time to write. I want to write a novel. I want to write some short stories. I want to write, but I don't have the time to write. But what we're going to talk about today is what happens when the opposite is true. What happens when you have extra time, time that you weren't expecting to have. So maybe you have a canceled appointment, or for some reason, the things that you had planned for the day just disappear. And now you have extra time. Do you make use of that time? We're going to talk about today how to make the best use of found time, time that you weren't expecting, and how to get your novel written during those times.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author, and I'm here on Fridays to give you some helpful tips so that you can begin writing your novel. You can continue to write the story that you have in your heart. Okay, so today let's talk about that extra time that you have. And you're probably saying, I never have extra time. Well, I understand. I don't have a lot of extra time either. However, things happen sometimes. For example, not too long ago, I was snowed in. I thought I was going to be able to leave my house, go to work, do the, all the obligations that I had planned for that day that I needed to accomplish. Well, all of a sudden, I can't leave my house. So what am I going to do, right? No problem. Now, there are a lot of things you can do, right? You can just say, awesome, I'm going to sleep in, which you can do. Or you're going to sit back and just get a nice book to read, a cup of hot chocolate, fireplace, just a nice, relaxing, restful day, which sounds amazing, right? Or you could say, this is the day that I can make some major progress on my writing. Now, which one should you choose? A, B, or C? Hopefully you're saying C, even though the other two are tempting. It's definitely tempting just to lay around in bed and sleep extra and maybe read and just have more sleep. And it's definitely tempting just to, again, just to relax, right? To have a nice cup of coffee, hot chocolate, whatever you like, and take the day off because you're probably exhausted and you're like, thank goodness I don't have to do anything. But if you're really serious about writing, then this is a wonderful opportunity because you weren't planning, everything has got canceled, and all of a sudden now you have a whole day, let's say, to write. So that's amazing, right? Most of the time, if I have an entire day just to write and not think of anything else, I feel very lucky that I get that. So we're going to talk about, not only an extra day. Sometimes you may have an extra hour. You may have 2 hours, whatever, right? You were planning on having an appointment with someone and someone canceled. All of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, cool. I have an extra hour and a half now. What do I do? Anything like that. You might have a half day, whatever you have. We're going to talk about how to use that time in order to, again, progress with your book and be able to be successful, right? And not waste that time, even though it can be tempting to waste it or to do something else. You don't want to do that. You want to use the time for writing. Okay, so wonderful. We have this time that we weren't expecting. The first thing that you should do, especially if you have an entire day or you have a half day or you have a longer time, right? The first thing you want to do is plan out that time, because what can easily happen is like, oh yeah, great, I have a whole day to write, so I'm going to sit around and write today. First, let me check my email, right? Or wait, let me just go ahead and do my dishes, and then after I'm done with those dishes, I'm going to go down and I'm going to start writing. And then you walk by something and something else catches your attention, right? Or you sit down and watch TV for 30 minutes because you have a whole day. So why not just catch the news, right? So things, if you're not careful, if you don't actually just sit down and say, okay, I am going to use this day for writing, here's my plan. If you don't do that, then other things will take over, because it seems like a long time. Like I have an entire day to write and I don't need an entire day, so I can do other things. So you want to resist doing that. and you want to plan it out. So you want to say, okay, well, I'm going to treat this like a work day. So today, I'm going to, I'm going to start work at 9 o'clock. I'm going to start writing at 9 o'clock, and I'm going to, write the next chapter between 9 and 11, or I'm going to write so many words, right? So you want to plan out what your day is going to look like. You're going to write so much this time, and then maybe you're going to take a little break, go do the dishes. Then you're going to write another 2 hours, or you're going to edit what you just wrote. Whatever, however you want to plan your day, but you want to have a little plan just for that time period. Or, and I would even say it, even if, let's say you did have a cancellation and all of a sudden you're going to have an extra couple of hours. How can you use those 2 hours best? Just take out and sketch it out. It doesn't have to be formal. You don't have to take a long time. Don't take a long time to plan this out. Just kind of sketch out how you can use your time best, so that you can actually accomplish something, right? You can get something finished during this time that you probably wouldn't have gotten done any other time. Well, obviously, if you had something else here, you wouldn't have gotten it done. So it's awesome you can get it done, but you want to plan it out so that you have a schedule for the day. Now, once you have your goals and you have your schedule and you know what you're doing, then you know what your goal is, right? Your goal is I'm gonna get this one chapter done, or I'm going to get the next scene done if you only had a little bit of time, or I'm going to write 3 chapters. I'm just going to crazy write today. So whatever your goal is, now you have it, and now it's time to sit down and actually do it. So one of the things you may consider doing is writing sprints. So if you might probably have heard of that. If you haven't heard of it, it's that you sit down for a certain amount of time and you just write. You block everything else out. You're not editing, you're not researching, you're just writing. And during this time, however long you want it to be. So I like 50 minutes. Some people may think that's a little too long, but I would if I didn't do this. And sometimes I don't do sprints at all. I just sit and write. But if I was going to do the sprints, right, I would do 50 minutes because I can sit for 3 hours. I really can. I can sit there and focus. All of a sudden, 3 hours have gotten by. And then I try to stand and I can't stand up because my back is killing me, my everything, right? So it's in order to not be exhausted. If you're going to plan to write for 8 hours, that's a long time to be sitting down writing. Your brain will get exhausted. Your body will get exhausted. So if you do this, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes is way too short for me, but it could work for you. But I do 50 minutes and then I'll take like 10 minutes off to do something else. Stand up, go walk outside, go get a drink of water, go do something where I'm moving, and then I'm coming back and I'm doing my next 50 minutes. So the writing sprints really, really help to keep you going all day so that you're not totally exhausted. Because if you do spend 3 hours working, then you're going to kind of lose motivation to come back and say, I'm going to sit for another 3 hours, because you're tired and you're exhausted mentally and you're physically exhausted. So you want to take those little breaks. Another thing sometimes I like to do is I like to put Spotify on and I'll listen to some music that isn't distracting. And I don't always work with music, but sometimes, depending on the type of music, I can have some music. And then every time it goes to commercial, I'll just stand up. I don't have to go anywhere because the commercials aren't very long, right? But I'll work for a little bit. The music, goes off. The commercial goes on, which is distracting, right, to writing. I'll just hit save. I'll stand up. I'll do a few stretches, right, so that my body just is not sitting there. And then as soon as the music starts again, then I'll sit back down. So again, it's just to keep moving, to keep circulation going, and to keep focused on your work. Okay, the other thing that you want to do, so once you decide how you're going to do this, how you're going to structure it, how you're going to write. So you've got your plan, you've got your sprints, how you're going to do the timing. And the next thing is really to tackle the hardest thing first. So let's say you're not writing the whole time. You're saying, I really do have an entire day. I have 8 hours, let's say, before like I have to cook for my family or do something else. So I have these 8 hours. I don't want to write the whole time, but I do need to do some research. Maybe I need to do some editing. So what I suggest you do, and not only me, but actually smarter people than me, productivity experts, right? They will suggest that what you should do is tackle the hardest thing first, right? So whatever you think is the most challenging, that is going to kind of be hard, that maybe you're not looking forward to it. Like maybe you love the writing, but you don't like the research as much. That's me. I like research, but obviously I love writing more. So writing is fun. Writing is the time will fly by and I won't even notice it. The research, it's a little more difficult. Editing sometimes can be a little bit more difficult. So whatever you think is the hardest thing that you want to get done. So I have some research, I have some writing, I have some revising, right? I have some editing to do. So which one should I do first? Sometimes it just depends. Maybe you really plan to write the chapter and then spend some time editing that chapter. So obviously the writing has to come before the editing. But maybe the research is the hardest part and you can start with that. So whatever is the most, I guess, complex, whatever's going to take more brain power for you to do, maybe the writing is what's the most challenging, right? What's going to take the most thought. And then afterwards you can just kind of surf the internet and look for information to add to your story. Everybody writes differently and everybody considers things hard for them and other things easier for them. So, but start with whatever is the most challenging if you can first, and then move on to the rest of the stuff. So when you get to the end of the day, you're a little more tired, you're doing just the easier part. My next suggestion to keep going, right? So that you're continually flowing that day. You're not, moving on to something that's not writing, is to do one thing at a time. So in other words, don't start writing and then say, oh, I don't know, I don't know if there's a Starbucks on that street. Let me go find out. Let me go do a Google Maps search. Let me go. No, just keep writing. So don't jump around from editing to research to writing. Focus on one thing. You'll get more done that way. Just skip it, write that there's a Starbucks there, put a little question mark it somehow so you can come back to it. You can always revise it. You can always change the street. You can always fictionalize the street and add a Starbucks there. There's a lot of things you can do later to fix that when you're doing some editing, but do one thing at a time. If you're editing, then don't decide, oh, I need to add a brand new scene here that's going to take 5 pages and I'm going to write that in there. Just edit and put a little note here, add scene to include whatever it is that you want to include in there. Okay, so focus on one thing. You'll get more done. You'll be much more productive. Your brain won't be scattered all over the place and you won't feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. Pausing for a second to let you know about a couple of courses that I've created. If you're a beginning writer and you want some help with your book, I just want to let you know that I do have a basic course on how to write, and I'm going to post it below. And if you're not a beginning writer, but you are more established and you're ready to publish your work, you have your novel written, I also have a publishing course, and I will also post it below, so take a look at it. Maybe there'll be just what you're looking for. All right, let's go back to the video now. Okay, another suggestion is to work somewhere else if you can. So obviously, if you're like me and you're snowed in, you are stuck in your home, you're not going anywhere, right? You're just going to work wherever you normally work. But if you had an appointment and you were planning to, drive to a different city, right, or a few miles away, now you're out and about and you get the opportunity really to work somewhere else. So go somewhere nice. Go to a nice park, go to a coffee shop and sit there and write there wherever you are, because it's going to feel nice. First of all, you're out, right? You're still out wherever you were going anyway, so you're already out there. So find a nice place, have a nice cup of coffee, relax, and sit and write. That's why you should always take, of course, your computer with you. You should always take a notepad, whatever, so that your story is, you're always basically working on your story. And if you ever get that opportunity to add more, you have your computer, you have everything that you need in order to, keep adding to your story. So work somewhere else. It also, I think I've mentioned this before, that sometimes when you're somewhere else, different ideas will come to you. You'll be just inspired differently than if you're just sitting in your office. That, being in your office with your own space is very nice because you have everything that's familiar and, comfortable, and your brain kind of knows that you're supposed to write when you're there. But it's also really nice to get away and see and hear other things and, write peacefully without anybody bothering you. Okay, and what if you're actually between projects, or you don't have a story that you're working on yet? It's a great time also just to sit and brainstorm, right? Just say, okay, I'm going to spend this time just brainstorming and plotting out a new story. You can also say, this is a time I'm going to maybe just go out. I'm going to go talk to people. Maybe I was thinking of writing a hero that is a police officer. a doctor, whatever, right? And I want to know a little bit more about that. Maybe I can use that time to call, call a police officer, call someone and say, do you have some time for some questions? Or, go there. I don't know, I wouldn't go to a police station probably, but, there might be other places that you can go, you can talk to people. So do uh, do a little chatting with people that could give you information for your book. Go to libraries; those are great, right? They're still great to go research. It's also a nice quiet place if you have your own computer, just even if you're just going to go on the internet and do some research. But sometimes it's nice just to talk to people, and it might be a really good opportunity to go out and interview someone. I once called the FBI, I think it was. No, what was it? It wasn't the FBI. It was it was the agency that deals with firearms. I can't even remember right now what it's called, but it's that agency, right? Where and I called and I just had some questions because I was thinking, well, what would somebody do if they had, if you caught someone with illegal arms, and what would be the process? And they said, just a minute. And they had me talk, who are you? Why are you asking me these questions? Of course, right? And so I explained who I was. And so they transferred me over to somebody who talks to the media and gives them information. So it was really nice. I had a nice conversation, and I got some, interesting information that I could use for my novel. So that was actually a novel that I ended up never publishing, but that's okay. It was useful. And anyhow, I'm just saying, this is a good opportunity to be able to talk to experts that might be able to help you with a story idea that you're either working on or that you're thinking of working on. Okay, and then at the end of the day, at the end of the hour, or the end of the time that you found, right? Make sure that you do something fun, because you could have laid around all day and done nothing, but you were so good that you worked and you got your writing done. So give yourself a little reward. Maybe watch a TV show, play video games, do something that you enjoy doing, spend some time with your kids. And don't feel guilty, by the way, not spending time with your family because you found this extra time, or not cleaning your house. Remember, you wouldn't have done that anyways, right? Because you would have been working or you would have been doing something else. So this is a time that you get to actually focus on your writing, that you wouldn't have been there for your family anyway. So don't feel guilty. Keep, just keep focused on your writing. But yeah, at the end of the day, why not? Spend a little time having some fun. Reward yourself for actually working rather than just kicking back and doing nothing all day. So I hope this helps. I know a lot of times people are like, I just don't have enough time to write. But we don't think about the times when we get extra time that we weren't expecting. And use this time. Use it, because there will be days, the opposite will happen, right? There will be days when you think you're going to have time for writing, and all of a sudden these disasters happen, and all of a sudden you're needed somewhere else and you can't do the writing that you wanted to do. So get ahead, use this time, and that way, if you do have situations later where you don't get as much done as you hoped, then at least you had this extra time here that you made use of. Okay, so anyways, I hope this helped. If it did, please hit the like and the share button. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, so that you will get a little notification. So hit the notification button as well, so that next Friday you'll know when my next video is posted. And thank you very much for supporting me.